Okay, I want to go ahead and get started, be conscious of everyone's time today. First off, my name is Jeff Merton. I'm on the partner marketing team here at Sage, and I'd like to thank everyone very much for attending today's webcast on Sage AP automation and AP maturity for small and mid-sized enterprises. A few logistical items before we get started today. A common question I ask is the webcast getting recorded? Somewhere on your screen, you should see a red dot. It is being recorded, and I will be sending out an email probably in a couple days that will have links to the recording as well as the slides that we're going to see here today. And we should also have some time for questions. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, please enter those into the questions panel on your screen and send those to me, the host, and we'll answer those at the end. And do know if we run out of time or you don't hear your question answered, that we get a record of those on our side, and we will have someone follow up with you. So with me today, I have Tiffany Campbell, who's the Vice President of Channel and Business Development for Beanworks, the publisher of Sage AP Automation, as well as Tina Pham, as you can see there on the screen as well. She's the account executive at Beanworks as well. Tiffany's going to go through some industry research and lay the groundwork for the solution, going through some slides. And we even have some interactive polls today, and we'll share those results in real time during the webcast today as well. So when we call those out, it'll pop up on your screen and you can select your answer there, and then we'll share. It's all anonymous, but we'll share the results with the audience as well. And then Tina is going to go back in and actually show a demonstration of the product. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tiffany to kick off the presentation. Tiffany?
Thank you, Jeff. So as Jeff mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Channel and Business Development here at Beanworks. Tina and I will be presenting our solution to you today. What we're going to talk about is what's happening in accounts payable right now, how to achieve an innovator state, and then we're going to do a product demo. We'll discuss our new pricing model and then open it up to any questions that you guys might have at the end. And then we'll end it with a little quiz. So make sure you're paying attention. So right now, you can see here the small to mid-size space and the enterprise space. Historically, AP automation was only available in the enterprise space. However, automation technology has finally caught up to the small to mid-sized business, and they're offering accounts payable automation for you now. And that is where we come in. So we're going to talk about what's happening right now in your space. So right now, how are invoices coming in? Still, 42% of them are coming in email, but you'll notice a big portion is still paper. Now, once those invoices come in, how is the data being entered into your system? 86% in the SME space is still being done manual. Then when it comes time, when the invoices come in, they go through an approval process. 49% of the process is still being done manual as well. So that means, when an invoice comes in, someone's walking it to someone else's desk and they're having that person, approve it, and then they're walking it to someone else's desk or emailing it. So because of that manual process, we have 3 different breakouts here. We have novice, mainstream, and innovator. So for an approval process in the novice space, it takes about 45 days to 23 days. And then if you're an innovator, you're at about 5 days. So next thing that was asked was, what are the biggest pain points in accounts payable? So you can see here for the small to mid-sized business, you can see here that most of their pain comes with the data entry component, but it's also with manual routing of the invoices, lost or missing invoices, and you can kind of read through the rest here. So what we want to do right now is we're going to conduct a poll and have you guys tell us what are your pain points. So Jeff is going to present this to you guys. Don't know where that went. So you guys should receive a poll, and it's going to ask you, first question is going to be, how many invoices are you guys processing per month? Then what percentage of your AP's team is spent on data entry during the day? And then what are your top 3 pain points? we want to see if it's, mirroring our survey results.
And the votes are coming in. We've got about 40% coming in, and it's climbing. So we'll give another minute for the answers before we share.
Yep, that's awesome. So we'll give everybody time to fill that out.
And we're getting pretty close. I'm coming up on 80% and climbing. So I will let this keep going another minute. Still collecting.
Oh, good. We love the participation.
Great. All right. I think we've got a good group here. Got almost everyone in there. I'm going to close this, and then I will share this results.
Great. So we'll review the results and see what your guys' points are.
And here's the shared results.
Keeps going up. Oh, I'm not seeing them.
Oh, you don't see them. Okay, well, I can talk to them. So manual data entry is clearly the biggest problem. 81% of the poll results listed that. And this is obviously listing all that apply. Everyone on the screen see it, but for you, Tiffany, manual data entry was 81%. Approval follow-up was 47%. Lack of visibility, 34%. Discrepancies and errors, 33%. And too much paper, 51%.
Okay, wow.
And I'm going to go ahead and hide that now. Thanks, everyone, for your participation.
Yes, thank you very much. So what you're experiencing is exactly what research has been telling us. So what we wanted to do is create a solution that would help with these pain points. So this right here, once you do automate, you'll notice based off of research, they say, 59% said there was reduction in paper invoice, quicker approval process, improved visibility, lower overall AP processing. So you can see all of the areas that automating AP will help you. So how do you become an AP innovator? That top 5% that we were talking about earlier. So to become an AP innovator, the first thing you're going to want to do is reduce your data entry. So with AP automation, what we're trying to do is help you eliminate, receiving all of those paper copies or scanning the information into the system. So we're encouraging you guys to go into a digital format, which reduces the data entry and routing. We give you multiple options to bring your invoices into our system. You have the ability to provide your vendors an email address where they can email it directly into us. You also, if you're someone like me who's on the road all the time, you can take a picture of that invoice and upload it into our system. Then another way to become an innovator is to automate the approval workflow. So instead of manually walking over to someone's desk, because we hear this all the time from AP clerks is, I'm great at my job, but I go put it on our CFO's desk and it sits there for 2 weeks. We want to eliminate that. So we want to automate that whole process. We want you to tell us what your business rules are. Maybe your business rule is, if the invoice is over $25,000, we want to automatically route it to the CFO so they get it and they can, get an email, open it up, approve it from there, or they can, approve it from their desk. So we want to simplify that process. You guys get to define what your business rules are. We set that up, and then it goes to the appropriate workflow or approval flow in our solution. Then we want you to stop printing and matching invoices to check. We want to automate that for you. So I mentioned with the business rules, if an invoice came in, if it's over $25,000, we want to route it to the CFO for approval. Well, maybe your business rule or another business rule is if an invoice comes in, we want to automatically match it to a PO that exists in the system. If they match, then and a PO can obviously be associated to multiple invoices. So I want to draw from that PO and then automatically pay that, or I still want to send it to an approver. And when we get to the demo, we'll show you how that works, but we want you to automate that. And in order to be an innovator, you have to be able to automate that process. So those three things will help you become or hit that innovator state that we were mentioning. But there's some other benefits to automating AP. One is manage AP at a fraction of the cost. So it's going to save money. Process invoices 9 times faster than what you're doing right now. It's going to eliminate 83% of the data entry that is being done right now. It's going to improve financial management and reporting, reduce paper with 7 years of cloud-based storage for you. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to show you, instead of continuing with a PowerPoint, we're going to jump into the product, because one of the coolest things about our solution is the ease of use. So right now I'm going to pass it over to Tina, and Tina will show you the solution.
Perfect. Thank you, Tiffany. I'm going to hide this here. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Tiff, can you see that?
I can.
Yep, it works fine.
Awesome. Perfect. So this is the dashboard. Sorry, Tiff?
If you can maximize the screen. If not, no big deal.
It is maximized on my end.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks fine on my end, Tina.
Okay, great. So this is going to be the first screen everyone will see when you log into Sage AP Automation, so the dashboard here. And this will give you user-based metrics on the AP process. So here, you'll be able to see how long users are taking on average to process an invoice, as well as see how long they're taking on average to approve an invoice. And Ardent Partners is an independent research firm, and they've done a study and found that what distinguished top performing AP teams from the rest was that they did in fact have some metrics in place to track and monitor performance. Now, as you'll mention, we have an extreme example here to show you. One of our controllers, Tom Green, he's taking on average 136 days to approve an invoice. Luckily, he's a made-up person because this is a very long time. So of course, pull him aside, have a conversation with him, and figure out what's going on here to hopefully stop this from happening again. So the idea of the dashboard is really to increase accountability for your team, as well as help you identify any possible bottlenecks in the system. Now, before we jump into the modules in more detail, I'll quickly go over the system's architecture and user-based permissions, so it's easier for everyone to follow along. So you'll notice here on the left-hand side, we do have 3 main modules: purchase orders, invoices, and payments. And if I jump into the invoice module, for example, you'll notice that we've broken the application of the workflow to the top here. And this will flow from left to right. We have the workspace here in the middle. And then on the left-hand side, we have the organizational structure. So in my example, Green Bean Country Club is my parent company. Green Bean Co. is one of my legal entities or locations. And below that, I also have several different departments. So we do specialize in multi-entities. So if you do have multiple companies that you're processing AP for, we can have them all mirror here, and we can add as many layers of segmentation as needed. One of the great things about Sage AP Automation is that we do allow for unlimited user access, and you do not need a Sage license to access it. So we can have as many users in the system. And what that means is if you have users who are going to be, let's say, only associated to the activity within marketing, we can hide all the other bubbles, so the other departments and so forth. So when they log in, they'll only see the work that's associated to them. The same level of customization applies to the top here, where if you have users coming into the system only to do approvals, we can hide these tabs. So when they log in, they'll only see the approvals tab and the work that they need to complete. Now, as we navigate through the different modules, you'll notice that everything remains pretty much the same. And the only thing that really changes is the color. Now, we've designed a system this way to make training fast and easy. So pretty much once you've learned one module, you'll have a really good understanding of how the entire system works. So that was a dashboard as well as the system's architecture and user-based permissions. Now to start, I'll go ahead and get started in the purchase order module. And I do want to note that I completely understand not everyone uses purchase orders in their workflow. This module is optional, but for the sake of today's demo, I'll quickly walk through it. So first, we'll jump into the PO module here to create the purchase rec. First, by selecting the company that it's for, filling out the vendor information, and all of these lists, so the vendor list, for example, as well as the account list and so forth, they'll be pulled and mirroring exactly how you have it set up in your Sage financial system. We also have a wildcard feature, meaning that if I type in a word from the string, let's say I start typing in Bay, you'll notice that our system will pull up that vendor that we were looking for. Same with the account here. If I type in, let's say EXP, all of my expense accounts will go here. Fill in all of this information. We can save this purchase order, and you'll see we've created a visualization of the PO itself here. At this point, if you do need to make any further edits, you can go ahead and do so. Or if it's good to go, we'll go ahead and submit it for approval. Once we do submit to purchase orders for approval, your users would then receive an email notification indicating that there are POs waiting to be approved. They'll come into this screen. They can either select all of them as a batch and go ahead and approve or reject them together. Of course, you can jump into it and approve or reject from this screen. And if you are rejecting anything in our system, you will be required to leave a comment why, so hopefully the corrections can be made. Once purchase orders have been approved, they'll come to the Committed tab here. And here you'll be able to see how much is remaining on that purchase order, how much has currently been drawn, as well as the total amounts and so forth. Of course, at any time you can click into these, view all the details there. And our system will actually automatically match purchase orders to invoices together. And I'll show you a little bit more of how that happens in the invoice module. But at this stage, you'll be able to see all of this information. And until the purchase orders are fully drawn is when they'll move to our Close tab. So the Close tab will store all of the information associated to your purchase orders. Everything is completely searchable at this point. You can build reports, you can jump into it, however you'd like. This information will stay here within Sage AP Automation. Now moving forward to the invoice module here, I'll jump into the first tab, which is the Create tab. And this is how you'll be getting paper-based invoices into the system. All you'll have to do is use your standard scanner, batch scan all of the invoices together, click Upload, drag and drop the file, and you'll notice now the system has a digital copy of your invoice here. To quickly separate these pages, I'll click our Auto Split button. And if you ever have any multi-page invoices, it's a simple drag and drop to organize them. So this essentially is going to be your PDF editor within the system, making it extremely easy for you to get your paper invoices into Sage APA. Once you're good, you'd go ahead and click Save, Create Invoices, and this will push us to the next tab, which is the In Progress tab. Now, if you are currently receiving any invoices electronically, let's say they're coming to a general AP inbox, no worries. We can set up some auto forwarding rules to the Sage AP Automation email address we'll set you up with. And essentially, those emailed invoices will just come directly into the In Progress tab, skipping the Create. So by the next business day, all of the paper-based invoices, as well as the emailed ones, they'll come into the In Progress queue here with some of the information already captured for you. Now let's jump into an example. I'll hide this for a second. So what our system will automatically capture for you is all of the header information, such as the vendor, AP account, the date, the due date, as well as the subtotals, totals, and taxes. Now all that's left for you to complete are line item details. And there are a few ways to complete this. The first way, as I mentioned earlier, since we do automatically match purchase orders and invoices together, you'll notice in this example that there has been a purchase order that was found to match with this invoice. For me to quickly adopt all of this or quickly code all the line item details, we can go to Actions, Adopt PO Coding, and this will pull all of the line item details from the purchase order, and it will automatically populate here. And that invoice is completely coded and done. You'd go ahead and submit it for approval. Now, let's say the invoice is not associated to a purchase order. That's no problem. We also have a smart coding feature. What this will do once you click smart code is our system will automatically populate all of these line item details for you based on the last reoccurring invoice. So this works especially great for all of your invoices that are typically coded to the same accounts based on vendor. For example, your utility bills, your rent bills, cell phone bills, things like that. The last and final way to have invoices coded is, again, since all of these lists are pulled directly from Sage, it'll be extremely easy for you to type in if you knew the number of the codes or a simple word from the string. And then you'd go ahead and submit this invoice for approval. Once you submit it for approval, the same thing will happen. Your users will receive an email notification letting them know there are invoices waiting to be approved. They'll come to the screen. It looks exactly the same as from the purchase order module, where you can select them all and batch approve or reject, or of course, jump into them. Now, since we're talking about approvals, I'll jump into the back end and I'll show you how we set up those approval channels. One thing to note is we can set up approval channels for all three modules, but since we're in invoices, I'll quickly jump into here. And global rules right now is indicating that all of these approval channels I have set up will apply to all of my companies across the board. Of course, I can have specific channels for different companies. And let's jump into this example here. So for instance, this is a standard utilities approval channel saying that any invoice between $500 and $2,000 associated to my department IT coded to these accounts from these vendors will go to this approver Beansprout. So you'll notice each of these boxes here each of these boxes here indicates a set of rules. So we can pull in as many standard lists as you'd like to identify these approval channels. As you notice here, I have my account list pulled in, my vendor list, or by this channel. If not, you can leave it as simple as you'd want. And then to edit who's in charge of this channel, we'll click into this pen icon. You'll see all of my users on the left-hand side. To add more people to this approval channel, we'll just select them, move them over. Simply drag and drop the order. So now the invoice first has to be routed to Beansprout for approval, then to Jack, and finally by Jill, so in sequential order. Our system also has the capability to do OR logic, meaning that I can group these two users together. So both Jill and Jack will receive the notification indicating that there's an invoice to be approved, and whoever approves it first within this group will complete the channel. So as you'll see here, we can accommodate all sorts of approval channels and have them as specified as you'd like. Now jumping back into the invoice module now, I'll resume at the Export tab. And the Export tab is essentially going to be your sync tab. So this is where all your approved invoices will sit. And all you'll have to do is select them all and go to Actions, Export Data. And this will push all of this information back into your Sage financial system as if you've manually coded it yourself. Once they've been exported from our system, they'll then move to the Archive tab. And the Archive tab will now basically be your online digital filing cabinet. So no more having to run back into actual cabinets looking for paper, as everything will live in the system here, as Tiffany mentioned, for at least 7 years. And at this point, you can create filters if you're running a specific report. We can search by global search, so across all companies. And I'll quickly show you an example of what a report looks like. And I'll just run it on my archived invoices here. We can create either a CSV or PDF report. Let's create a PDF as it's just a little prettier to look at. And it just takes a few seconds to download onto my own computer here. And we'll go ahead and open it up. So on the first page, we'll always get a high-level invoice summary indicating, which vendor it came from, how much, where it was coded, and so forth. And if I want to view an invoice in more detail, just simply hover on the number, click on it, and it will take me directly to the page within the report, show you a visualization of that invoice itself, all the header information, line item details, and the entire approval history. So this will keep track of all of your invoices. It will display the entire audit history. And we've had clients create these reports and share it to their auditors themselves, as everything is completely searchable. So again, you can create these reports at any time and at any stage within our software. And that wraps up the invoice module. Now I'll go ahead and continue into the payments module. And again, payments, just like how purchase orders were, this is also an optional module, but if you'd like to automate your payments, we can also accommodate that here. What will happen is all of your approved invoices will flow directly into the Create tab of the Payments module, and our system will group them based on vendor. And you'll notice this is pretty much like an age payables list, where you'll be able to select which payments you're ready to create, like so. And you'll see my selected total as well as my outstanding total below. We'll click Create Payments, and this will take us to the In Progress tab. Now in the In Progress queue here, this is where you can identify which type of payment method, as well as which bank you'd like to pay your vendor. We can accommodate check payments, meaning that we'll actually send out checks on your behalf. So no worry about chasing all the paper for checks. We will take care of that, mail it to your vendor for you. We can accommodate ACH payments, EFT payments, and we also have a virtual credit card program. So at this stage, again, you'll select the payment method here, and we will directly integrate with your bank. So if you do have several sources of funding, you can indicate it here, and we'll make the selection of which bank you'd like to pay this vendor with. And then submit it for approval. And as you've guessed it, approvals looks exactly the same as we've gone through earlier, where you can approve or reject from the screen, or of course, jump into it. Once payments have been approved, they'll move on to the Releases tab. And now at this stage, by selecting this approved payment and clicking Release Payments, this is when you're indicating to us that you're ready for us to actually mail out that check for you or send over that ACH. So again, Release Payments, and you'll notice at that point, your money withdrawn from your bank and going to your vendors. Moving on to the Paid tab now, this is going to be exactly the same as you've seen earlier as the Export tab from the Invoice module, where we'll sync all of this data back into Sage simply by selecting it, going to Export Data, exactly the same, and this will push back into your Sage financial system. Lastly, Archived will store all of the history, all of the payments that we've run through the system here. Of course, again, searchable at any point, displaying all of that data. And then lastly, Report allows you the functionality to run reports out of the Payments module. So that wraps up the Payments module as well as the entire software. Hopefully that was informative, and we were able to demonstrate to you how AP automation can really help increase the efficiency in your team. And back to you, Tiff.
I'm giving you control back. And Tiffany, I think you're muted as well still. Tiffany, you
Thank you very much. I was freaking out. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Nope. Yep.
Okay, good, because I couldn't unmute. So yeah, I was like, why can't I unmute this? Thank you, Jeff. Okay,
yep,
so next thing we want. Perfect, thank you. So next thing we want to discuss, and Tina, that was amazing. I do think the product is very easy to use, and hopefully everybody can see that. Right now we're going to talk about our new pricing. So as of October 1st, we moved over to subscription-based pricing. So Sage APA is going to be offered as a subscription. So obviously the higher the subscription, the greater the discount. And there is a 10% grace on invoice usage if you go over your tier. And I'll explain that once we go into the new pricing model. So with the new pricing model, there's going to be a plan. So customers will choose a plan with the features that match their needs. And I'll walk through the plans with you. There is a one-time setup fee. And we can work with you guys on discounted pricing. Discounts, you will, if you decide, you know what, I want, instead of paying month to month, I want to pay annually. We do offer a prepayment discount for you where you get 1 month off. And then if at any point, which people rarely do, if you decide to cancel, we do ask that you give us 60 days notice. So our new pricing has 3 components: a setup, a plan, and a subscription bucket. The plan, these are the 4 plans that are offered. We have a starter package, pro, premium, and enterprise. Now, these are all dependent upon your needs with our product. So do you need purchase orders? Do you need payment? How quickly do you want us to respond in regards to support? How many legal entities do you have? So those are the things that we'll be asking when we determine which plan you'll fall into. So the plan is a monthly fee that you will pay. And then you will pay you'll also have a subscription. So you'll determine how many invoices you're going to do on a monthly basis, and then you will buy into that bucket. So we have, I don't even know the number of buckets we have, but this gives you a range. So 100 to 1,000. It could go anywhere from $1.54 to $1.18. And then the subscription is anywhere from $154 to $1,800. So you'll let us know how many invoices you do, and we'll figure out which bucket you fall into. So if you want more details on your bucket, because this is really just kind of lumping them all into 5 here, we have hundreds. So you just let us know, we'll figure out which bucket you fall into, and then we'll provide that pricing to you. We do recommend that you fall into, or you select the most accurate bucket, because there is an overage fee. So if you say I'm doing 100 and you do 1,000, then if you're in the 100 to 250 bucket, once you go over 250, then you will pay that $2. So we recommend you, obviously fall into the correct bucket, or you're going to have those overage fees. We'll work with you on that to make sure you can, that you're in the right bucket, and then we can transition you at any time. So if you think, this is the bucket I fall into, and then all of a sudden you acquire another company, the rest of the year you don't have to pay that $2 per invoice. Just let us know at any time. You can do a step up. You just pay the difference between the buckets, and you move from one to the other. Now, in regards to payments, our payment costs really haven't changed. So with checks, you're at $1.25 US, ACH $1, and all of this information will be provided to you. So these are the transaction costs for payments. I'll let you guys take a look at that. So the payment module comes with the solution depending upon your plan. And then obviously you have transaction costs that you pay right now. We've negotiated hopefully a better cost for you, and you can see that here. So what I'd like to do now is open it up for Tina and I to be able to answer any questions that you guys might have about the product, about the pricing, about our partnership with Sage. So Jeff, if you want to open up the lines and let everybody ask some questions. Or
yeah, so we did get a bunch of questions coming through the chat window. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tiffany.
Oh no, I was going to say, I forgot we put it in chat. So let's take those questions.
Yep. All right, let me open them up here. And thank you very much for the presentation, ladies. Let's see here. Let's see. How do you handle coding if we need staff to code their own invoices?
Yeah, perfect. Do you want me to take care of that one?
Oh, go ahead.
Sure. So the question was how do you handle coding if some staff have to do their own coding? So again, as we mentioned in the demo, we can have unlimited users in the system, and you can allow that specific user or those users access to code. So we can set up special restrictions and permissions. So if you do need them to code their own invoices, that's no problem. We'll be able to set that up. So when they log in, they'll see their invoice in their queue for them to complete and code and go ahead and submit for approval.
Great, thanks, Tina. The next one is, how does the software know which fields or values to pull from on an electronic invoice to populate the software?
Perfect. So with that question, so with our the automatic data capture, we're actually using also another layer of human verification. So that's how we can guarantee you at least 99% accuracy on the coded invoices, where we'll be able to actually see your invoice and pull those fields, so pull off the dollar amounts and so forth, and automatically code that on the line level.
So as Tina mentioned, it's a combination of technology and human intervention. So we use our technology to code what we can, and then we have human intervention so we can guarantee that 99.9%.
Exactly.
And we do have it in our roadmap right now to go to an AI solution that will help us continue to be at the 99.9% that we achieve right now.
Next question is, are you able to edit an invoice with text for job costing and coding, or would this be completed in the PO process?
Okay, so I guess I have some questions on that one. I think that one we need a little bit more detail. I would like to take that one offline. So who asked that question, I'd like them to reach out to Tina and I, and we can take that one.
Yep, and I made a note too, so when I pass over the questions, you guys will know about that one as well.
Perfect.
Let's see. This appears to be a use case for internal invoices. What about handling invoices from vendors which need to be assigned or billed to customer jobs?
Yeah, I think with that question as well, it's pretty similar to the previous question relating back to jobs. So if we can also take that one offline, that'd be really appreciated, as it does need further explanation and clarification on your current process.
Sure. And I see 3 or 4 questions. Will this work with Sage 500? The answer is yes. AP automation does integrate into Sage 500.
So you know what, I apologize. We did not mention that in our presentation today. We do work with Sage 500, 100, 300, and both 50 US and Canada. And Sage Intact.
Great. Do you have a rebate program with your EFT ACH transactions?
We do with our, oh, go ahead, Tina.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we do have a rebate program with our virtual credit card. So by using our virtual credit card, you can earn up to 1.1% cash back.
I may have missed this, but does the system automatically pull in emailed invoices, or does it still require employee intervention? I think we covered that. Anything else to add on that one, ladies?
Nope, it does. So the answer is yes to that one.
If we have a PO set up in Sage, would Beanworks or AP Automation allow the matching of the invoices and PO?
Yes, we do. We do allow, so you have two options. Our solution, as Tina showed you in the demo today, you can create your POs within Sage APA, or you can create your POs within Sage, and those will be brought into Sage APA.
Let's see here. On the payments with multiple companies that have invoices for the same vendor, will one payment be done for all invoices, or how is that managed?
Do you want to take that, Tina?
Yeah, with that one, so it sounds like one invoice for multiple companies, but the same vendor. Typically how it would work is you'd have to pay that individually based on your bank account for that company or that specific company that you have set up in Sage APA for that vendor. So it may be several different payments. But again, that one, maybe we need some more clarification offline on how you're currently doing it to see how we can accommodate it in the system.
Okay, I made a note on that one as well. If someone uses AP Automation to process payments, is there a report that can be pulled that correlates to the banking requirements to upload check payment data for fraud management or manager protection?
Tina, do you know offhand? Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure of the criteria from the fraud management data points that you're looking for from the reports within Sage. But the example I went through earlier, so with the invoice module, you'll be able to see for payments exactly what payments were made for that particular invoice, who approved it, which funding account it came from, which type of payment, and so forth. If there's anything we're missing in terms of the fraud data points that you're looking for, we can, again, take it offline and see if that is available in the system as well.
We use the PO module and the invoice module, but not the payments module.
That is fine. So with our solution, you get all three modules, PO, invoice, and payments. You do not, it's not mandated that you use all three. So if you decide you want to use the solution and only do invoices, fine. If you want to do PO and invoices and not payments, again, that's fine. At any time, you can add on the additional modules.
And a couple questions around this one. Does Sage AP Automation handle multi-currency?
We do.
Easy answer. Let's see. What happens if you need to contest an invoice from a vendor? Do you simply contest outside of Sage AP Automation and delete the invoice, or how is that managed?
That is a good question. I believe that is the answer, but I'd have to look into that. Tina, do you?
Yeah, I would assume that you could do it within our system, so long as that invoice hasn't been exported yet. So if you do need to cancel it or delete it or make adjustments in the system, you can feel free to. Once it's been exported out and in your existing Sage account, at this point, you'd have to make the adjustments there.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is, are users able to do goods or service receipts on POs prior to invoices being received? And if so, does that goods receipt post into our Sage ERP system?
I'll let you handle that one, Tina.
So this one sounds like receiving sort of a three-way match, which is definitely something that we can accommodate on the PO level. But yeah, for this one, it may make more sense to take this one offline as it does get a little more technical.
Okay. Is it possible to upload our own payment data and use your payments module to match invoices to payments?
With this one, for the payments module to work, everything does have to exist within Sage API already. So unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to pull in any payment data as payments will be coming out of the system from Sage API.
If you can upload it into Sage, great.
Mm-hmm.
How does the comment section in Sage get filled in an invoice automation?
The comment section?
Yeah, how does the comment section in Sage get filled in invoice automation?
Okay, I'm not quite sure the comment section inside of Sage, but in Sage APA, we do have comments, Tina. And so, yeah, anytime someone receives an invoice and if they reject it or if they want to make a comment on it, it's placed and there's an audit trail. So one thing I think Tina mentioned is everything that is done to an invoice, it is being captured in our system, and we capture everything and have an audit trail of every single step. Mm-hmm. So if at any point you reject it or you make notes to it, there is a comment field that you fill out. That information is carried on with that invoice, but it's tracked in Sage APA.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a smartphone app for users to give approvals?
Yes, there is. I live and die by that. There is an app that you have on your phone that you can upload invoices. You can also approve from your phone.
Excellent. Let's see. And lots of questions. Great participation, everyone. We'll get through as many as we can here since we have time. How are the transaction fees recorded into Sage? Is it a separate invoice or part of the related transaction?
So our transaction fees are a processed invoice through the system, and that is tracked on our end, and then we push that over to Sage. So a transaction to us is a processed invoice inside of Sage.
Okay. Does the invoice module support project and job costing?
That, again, is something we want to take offline. That is on our roadmap. We have done it for customers in the past. We just need to figure out exactly what your needs are, and we can discuss if we can work for you right now or if we should wait until we roll out our PJC module.
Great. This one's around entering invoices. Is there a service for entering invoices? They list the example. Our invoices go into a Sage APA email and are entered for us, or can you just walk through the process of how the invoices get entered again? There's a few questions on this one, so it's probably worth going through again.
Yeah, we can actually jump back into it and show you. So basically, the invoices are going to be emailed into our system. I mentioned there is a combination of technology and human intervention. So we're going to take those invoices, we're going to code as much as we can. We do have the human intervention who's going to look at the rest of the information, code the rest of the information. We just do header footer right now. When it goes to the person who it's supposed to go to for approval, the coding or the line item detail can be entered at that time. So we do header footer at this time. That information is brought into the system. We do have smart coding. So Tina, I'm not quite sure, did you show the smart coding today?
Yep, we walked through smart coding.
Okay. Great. The next one is, you mentioned storage is for 7 years in the cloud, but is there a way for us to get the data out of the cloud to save it if we want to?
Yep, you can download that information and you can store it. You own the data.
All right, a longer one here. How do you allocate an invoice across multiple lines of business and entities? Can you set this up as a default for a user based on their org unit so they don't have to create the allocation for each invoice?
Tina, can you speak to that? Or is that something you want to schedule a demo for?
Yeah, that one might be better off if we took that one offline as well.
Sure, no problem. Do you have to use the payment automation feature?
No, you do not. You can do payments on your own if you choose to.
Let's see here. When exported to Sage, are the records also written to an accounts payable batch?
Yes, it is a batch process. And just so you know, we are using all of the Sage fields. So it is a bidirectional integration. We don't have our own separate tables and fields in our system. We are using all of the tables and fields from Sage. So there's no, as we mentioned, there's no double data entry. We're extracting the information from Sage or taking the information on our end that we received, and we're pushing it into the tables and the fields inside of Sage.
And this one follows. Oh, go ahead. This follows along that, but I'll ask it. Can purchase orders be produced in Sage be pushed into AP automation rather than entering them directly into AP automation?
Yes.
Can you code to more than one account?
Yep, absolutely. So you can add several different line items if needed to code to separate accounts.
A pricing question. Is the tiered pricing based on invoices per month or invoices per year? What if our invoice volume changes seasonally?
Okay, so it's invoices per month. So typically, people figure out, okay, how many we're going to do for a year, and then they break it out. But if it's seasonal, then definitely let us know, and you just pay month to month. And you can, like I said, you can do a step up at any time. So if you say we do 100 the first 6 months, and then we're going to step up in month 6, not a problem. It's month to month.
How does the export into Sage Financials handle multiple GL codes for one invoice?
How does Sage handle that? I'm sorry. That question I definitely would want to, because we do handle that in our system, and we can export it into Sage. How Sage handles it, I'm not quite sure. So that one we'd have to just take offline.
Okay. Is paying by credit card, is that a credit card program you provide, or can we use credit cards we already have?
Yeah, so the virtual credit card program is a program that we provide. So to earn the rebate with us, you'd have to use the virtual credit card.
Okay. If you leave the software, what happens to the document stored in the cloud? Do you have to continue to pay until the 7 years is passed, or do you need to download everything?
You can download. You own the data. It's yours.
So therefore, you wouldn't have to pay to get it. You would just download it when you go off of the solution. Are the email addresses auto-reply when people? Okay.
Correct.
That's an easy one. Let's see here. I'm trying not to read the same questions twice. How does APA report pricing variances from the PO?
How does the report pricing?
How does APA report pricing variances? So if there's a variance from what the PO says, how does it report that? I think I read it incorrectly the first time, probably. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, for that with variances, you would be able.
You want to take?
Yeah. So you can run reports out of our system in the PO module. So you'll be able to see exactly what was drawn, how much is left, if there was any variances, and that will display all on the report itself.
Okay. do you match receivers? We have an intermediate step, more to the question, that was not mentioned here. First, the PO is created. Second, the goods are received. Third, the invoice is received. How do we make sure that the goods have been received prior to paying the invoice?
Perfect. So again, this sounds like through a match. So it sounds like we're matching receivings to purchase orders and invoices, which everything will be tracked in our system. However, again, just due to more of the technical side of things, this conversation may be better suited offline.
I made a note there as well. Do you contact the vendors to get their preferred method of payment, ACH, EFT, etc., or how does that work?
That's a good question. So however you have your vendor set up, so if they are currently accepting ACH and let's say they accept checks as well, our system will automatically put them on the best cost efficient payment method for you. In this case, it would be ACH, as it is $1 per transaction compared to $1.25 per transaction. So if they're set up for various different payment methods, our system will automatically just put the preferred payment method as the most cost efficient method for you.
Great, thanks, Tina. When we prepare the payment, can we split batch by payment method, such as EFT, wire, credit card, etc., in a separate batch?
Yes, you can.
We've already asked that. Let's see. How are allocations handled?
I'm not 100% sure what this question means. If this is allocations between different line items, if we need to split amongst different accounts, you can do so in our system and allocate different percentages to different accounts. Yeah, this question, I'm not 100% sure if I'm answering correctly. Just need more information regarding what allocations means to you.
Okay, and just a couple more. We won't quite get to all of them, and thanks everyone for your questions. Let's see. How are voided payments managed?
Voided payments, I'm not 100% sure. Do you know, Tiff?
No, I don't know how they're handled. We do handle them, but the details of how, that's one, we should take that one offline so we can talk to one of our payments experts and kind of explain how that's handled in our system.
Great. And I think we'll end there, everyone. We didn't get to everyone, but I will definitely pass the questions we didn't get to onto the Sage AP automation team, and they will definitely be reaching out to get the answers to those. Lots and lots and lots of questions. There's probably another 20 or 30 questions that we didn't get to today. So thank you very much for your participation. I do want to make a mention. As soon as you close out of this browser, as I end the webcast here in a moment, there will be a survey that pops up asking you a couple questions, but what I really want to point out is the quiz. And what this quiz is, it's around what's your AP maturity rank, and I think it's about 15 questions, and what it'll show you is it'll help you calculate your average cost per invoice and find out how your accounting team and your company is performing against key accounts payable benchmarks that the Sage AP automation team has from their industry experience. So it'll really give you an idea of where you rank against the, everyone else in the industry. So I highly recommend taking a few minutes to take that. And I'll also put the link to that quiz when I send out the recording and the slides as well. So with that, Tiffany, any closing comments?
Nope. As Jeff mentioned, I highly recommend you guys take the quiz. We'll reach out to you guys and help you in any way we possibly can. Thank you guys for participating today.
Great. And Tina and Tiffany, thanks so much for the time and the presentations today. And again, you'll have an email in a couple of days that'll have a link to the recording and the slides. So with that, I wish you a great rest of your day. This concludes today's webcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.